Hello, my name is Linda Castro. Today I will be informing you on how to throw on a pottery wheel. I have 2 years of formal experience with a former RCC professor and 1 year experience being self-taught. Now, when you think of throwing, you probably think of either throwing like a ball, or maybe you even think of the movie Ghost with that romantic scene of them doing pottery. I'm here to tell you it is not as easy as it looks, but I have broken it down into 3 simple categories on how to start throwing. First, picking the right type of clay. Second, how to throw on a wheel. And third, trimming and decorations on your piece. Picking the right type of clay is essential to any art piece. There is no one type of clay. There are vast numbers of recipes to fit whatever kind of art piece you want to go for. So, typically, for dinnerware, you use things like porcelain, beeswax clay, nothing that really contains sand. You are essentially going for a clay that is very soft to be able to mold it on your wheel better. This type of clay can't be etched into or have a lot of designs because it is something that cannot be held up with because it has no sand. Compared to clay that does have sand. Clay that does have sand is able to make vast sculptures that are heavier, and the sand is able to support the weight. But with it having sand, it is way harder to throw on a pottery wheel. And it's why most potters don't tend to use clay sand when they are throwing, because it really tears up their hands with the texture. Now that I've talked about which clay we are supposed to use for the type of pottery piece that we want to achieve, I will now talk about how to throw on a pottery wheel in 3 steps. Centering. Centering is our first step and the most important one. As you can see in the background, this man is clenching the clay that he has thrown onto the wheel and put some water on it, and is now forming a cone to be able to then shape it. Dig his fingers in and then shape it. This, I personally will say, is one method of centering that I don't think is beginner friendly, because you have to have very big forearms to do this. I personally would recommend another way that is beginner friendly. You will take your left elbow, dig it into the side of your body, and stiff arm and have your palm out and push against the side of your ball of clay that is going to be in the middle of your wheel, and that will center your clay. And make sure to press down too. That is also something that he is doing in the background. Regardless, you will push the sides to make a straight cone and then push down. Moving on to the second step, giving your now centered clay height and shape. Giving your piece height is one of the most difficult parts of throwing. As you can see, I have put a little gift to demonstrate what giving your piece height looks like. To give a piece height, you will have to start inside and on the outside and pinch it together and bring all that clay from the bottom up to the top. You will also do this with water, because you do not want your fingers to get snagged, or your clay to get snagged on your dry fingers. Giving the clay shape is also done similarly to the way it's given. You're giving the shape of your piece height. You will either widen it by pulling the clay out more, like he does right here at the top of his mug. He widens it. Or you will pinch it. Or you will make it more narrow by pinching it, which can be done by holding your piece together and essentially just clamping your hands together to make it smaller. Now, lips and handles. A lip is most important when it comes to functional pieces because it is the thing that is touching the person's lip and needs to be super smooth. So this especially applies to mugs. Mugs need to be super smooth at the lips so that they don't tear up the person's lips. Now, you can do different types of lips. This one is just a simple rounded lip that we get on our everyday mugs. This one is a ruffled lip, which you can see why it's called that, because of the ruffles at the edge. And you can play around with these types of lips and make it all funky and different types of shapes. You can form the bowls into hearts, or you can make it look into flowers. It just depends on your preference. Handles. I've only been taught one type of handle, and the best way to make it look smooth as possible is this way, in the left hand corner. You can see he's holding a ball of clay, and you can't see what he's doing, but he will put his hand in the water and essentially just slide his hand, gliding against the roll of clay, and it makes this nice smooth handle that is thick at the top and thin at the bottom. And he will cut that and put it on his mug. Now that I talked about how to throw on the wheel, we are going to skip forward after our piece has dried to a suitable spot where it's not all the water gone, but some water has gone, and it's not a droopy, messy thing. Trimming and decorations. Trimming is essential to any potter, and it is a potter's best friend because it corrects any mistakes that you could have made while throwing. You are cutting off excess clay that you have right here, and you are giving it more form and definition. Sometimes to trim, you will either put it upright, put it upside down most of the time. Sometimes it'll be necessary to have a chuck, which is something that a vase that you place it in on your wheel so that you can then trim. You could even get a grip for it. There's special grips for it, or you could secure it down to a wheel with clay. And decorations. Clay is a media that can be molded into anything you want. Have fun with it. You can do patterns, you can do 3D sculptures, you can do anything you want all around your piece. Just have the imagination for it. In conclusion, throwing can be broken down into these 3 simple steps of picking the right clay, knowing how to throw, and trimming and decorating your piece. But it is most important to have practice, practice, practice. Because as you can see, even in the movie Ghost, that type of height took a lot of practice and they still couldn't get it.